The investor quadrant. It represents people who invest in assets that generate income for them. It could be stocks, real estate, businesses. Now, this quadrant is the ultimate goal for many, as it provides the greatest freedom. Your money works for you, and the flexibility of all the quadrants.
Are you ready to transform your life? This is a no-nonsense show helping immigrants like you create generational wealth, even while working full-time. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Saket Jain.
Welcome back, Migrate to Wealth listeners. A very happy new year. It's a perfect time to reflect on our financial goals and how we can achieve them. So let's do a quick temperature check. How are you feeling? Are you tired of being trapped in the rat race? Constantly hustling just to make ends meet and never having enough time or money to do the things you really want to do? Or are you actually on a track to achieve financial freedom and live the life of your own dreams? Regardless of what your answer is, I really believe anyone who is on a journey to financial freedom can benefit from a tool that my mentor Robert Kiyosaki developed. It's called Cashflow Quadrant. Cashflow Quadrant is really a visual representation of the 4 different ways that people make money. If you wanted to, it can be a first step towards taking control of your financial future and achieving the financial freedom you've always dreamed of. In this episode, we'll take a deeper dive into Cashflow Quadrant and why one of the quadrants, investor quadrant, is the ultimate goal for many. We'll also discuss tax implications of each quadrant and how you progressively minimize your tax burden as you move from employee quadrant to the investor quadrant. So get ready, bring your pen and paper, and make some notes. Let's get started. So what exactly is a cash flow quadrant? As I had mentioned, it's a visual representation. It's a tool that breaks down 4 different ways that people make money. They make money through a job, through being self-employed, through business ownership, or investing. All these 4 different ways are 4 different quadrants represented by the letters E for employee, S for self-employed, B for business, and I for investors. The first quadrant, the E quadrant, it represents the people who work for money, who receive a salary or hourly wage. It's the most common way of making money and provides income and a false sense of security of a regular paycheck. Employees have limited control on their time and income, and they're often subject to the whims of their employer. The second quadrant, self-employed quadrant, it really represents people who work for themselves, such as freelancers, contractors, doctors, lawyers, highly paid professionals. They have more freedom and flexibility than employee quadrant because these individuals have more control over their time and they can choose their own clients. But self-employed individuals are also responsible for their own taxes and insurance, and they may not have the same level of financial security as employees. Now, false sense of financial security, we should say. The B quadrant, the third quadrant, business owners. It represents people who own and operate their own businesses. This quadrant provides even more financial freedom, more freedom and flexibility than the self-employment quadrant, because business owners have complete control over their time and business decisions, but it also carries a higher level of risk, and it requires a significant investment of time and resources. The last quadrant, my favorite quadrant, the investor quadrant. It represents people who invest in assets that generate income for them. It could be stocks, real estate, businesses. Now, this quadrant is the ultimate goal for many, as it provides the greatest freedom. Your money works for you, and the flexibility of all the quadrants. Investors have the ability to generate passive income and can potentially minimize or even zero out their taxes if they plan and strategize ahead of time. Now, investing carries its own set of risks and also requires significant amount of knowledge and resources to be successful. Let's talk about taxes. So far, we've discussed the different quadrants and the benefits of moving towards the right-hand side of the quadrant, which is the business and the investor, more importantly, investor. But there's one more important factor to consider, the taxes. As you move from E quadrant to the I quadrant, you have the opportunity to progressively minimize your tax burden. In the employee quadrant, let's talk about it. Taxes are generally taken out of your paycheck automatically, And you may be eligible for certain tax credits or deductions, including 401ks, maybe home, your mortgage on your primary home. But as an employee, you're subject to the highest tax rates. You don't have limited opportunity to take advantage of any tax shelters. In the self-employment quadrant, the taxes are not taken out of your earnings and automatically. And you are responsible for self-employment taxes in addition to regular income taxes. But self-employment individuals may be eligible for certain tax deductions that employees don't have access to, the business deductions. Your taxes are generally lower than the self-employed or the employee category quadrant because you have more opportunities to structure your businesses and investments in a way that takes advantages of different tax rates. Business owners may also be able to take advantage of certain tax credits such as home office and deductions such as home office deductions or the research and development tax credits. The last quadrant in the investor quadrant, my favorite again, the taxes are generally the lowest of all the quadrants because investors have the ability to generate passive income, their money working for them, and take advantage of tax-favored investments such as qualified dividends, capital gains, most importantly, real estate. Through planning and strategies in advance, you may be able to minimize or zero out your taxes completely. Now, Tom Wheelwright, my Robert Kiyosaki's advisor and also one of my advisors, says that change your facts, change your tax. Right? He's the first one who opened my eyes to the possibility of zeroing out taxes as an investor. You ask, how is this possible? Well, the specifics of that need a whole new episode, and we're working on it. But for now, just understand the governments around the world provide tax breaks to incentivize investments in areas which they need help in. It could be apartments, it could be schools, it could be oil and gas. Now, by understanding the tax code and structuring your investments and businesses in a way that take advantage of these different tax rates, you are able to lower your taxes and completely eliminate them in most cases, in some cases. Big disclaimer here, that zeroing out your taxes is not a one-size solution. Every investor situation is unique, and it's important to consult with your tax expert, your tax advisor, to how these strategies may apply to you. So now that you understand the benefits of investor quadrant and the progressive advantage of minimizing the taxes as you move from the E quadrant to the I quadrant, let me share with you my own personal experience with investing. As most of you know, up until last month, exactly a month ago, December 2nd, I used to work a full-time job at Airbnb. It was a great job, but I felt like I was trading my time for money. I knew there had to be a better way to create generational wealth and focus on things that really matter to me. That's when I pulled out Cashflow Quadrant and built a roadmap for me to move from being an E to an I, from being an employee to an investor. I started learning about different investment options, such as real estate, oil and gas, precious metals, and many more, and really how to create passive income streams. It wasn't easy. There were learning curve, and I made some mistakes along the way, and we'll share on different episodes. Some I've already shared, but I was really determined to be successful. Eventually, I was able to build up a portfolio of investments that generated enough passive income for me to quit my job at Airbnb and become a full-time investor. It's been over 5 years since I started strategically investing, way back in 2017, and it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I have more control over my financial future. I've created multiple income streams, and the freedom and flexibility that I now have that allows me to choose how I spend my time. I'm no longer in a 9-to-5 job. I'm not constantly stressed out. Now I focus on building memories with my family and really do the things that only I can do, the passion projects that are really meaningful to me. So in conclusion, the cash flow quadrant is a useful tool for understanding the different ways that people make money, the tax implications of each one, and why the investor quadrant is the ultimate goal for many. The freedom and flexibility that being an investor provides is unparalleled. Hope you can see it. It takes time and effort to build it, to build a portfolio of investments, but the rewards are well worth it. As you move from E quadrant to the I quadrant, you also have the opportunity to minimize your taxes. In some cases, zeroing it out completely. That is great because you keep more of the money that you make and you use it to grow your investments even further. Now, hopefully this episode has motivated you to build your own roadmap to migrate to Investor Quadrant. If it has, I want to help. I'm offering anyone who's interested a free strategy session to help define your own personalized cash flow roadmap. Please use the link below in the show notes. You know where to find it. And let's get started. That's all we have for today. Thanks for listening.
If you got value from this episode, you might consider sharing this content with a friend. But most importantly, be sure to take action on what you've learned. One way you can take the next step is to connect directly with Socket on an investor call. That link is waiting for you in the show notes below.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. Please consult your own advisors when making any investment decisions. Keep listening. We'll see you on the next episode.